Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix, and this is Ancient Legacy of Azul. $4.99 came out on the Steam store February 4th, 2022. But before I begin this critical eye / review / gameplay commentary, you should know that this key was obtained from the developer for the purposes of review. That won't change my opinion of the game in the end, but you should know that because of FTC guidelines, as well as the whole morals thing, you know? Normally, I would give you an edited video of a game like this, but I do want to get content out a little bit quicker. You know, every 3 weeks does sort of suck in certain cases, but in particular with this game, knowing the moment-to-moment action and seeing it as a whole is important because of the time element in this game. So, let's start a run. We have two characters we can choose from. The Wayfarer, which is the only one that's unlocked to begin with, which is more of a jack-of-all-trades type, or the Azulmancer, who is a long-range specialist, assuming that she can keep herself out of the way of harm. I'm choosing the Azulmancer because she's better in almost every way than the Wayfarer, in my opinion. I'll get to that why exactly in a little bit. We're also going to play on easy. Dragnix, you never play on easy. You play on normal and hard, and maybe easy to understand the difficulty leveling. There's a reason why I'm going to choose easy in this case. Because this game is hard. It is difficult. Very similar to Risk of Rain 1 in that aspect, and many roguelikes, but this one has some differences. Let's put it that way. So our Azulmancer, in that fabulous robe and all the different blues, has 4 abilities. He's got a fireball that goes on the x-axis. He's got a flame wall that takes about 6 seconds to recharge. A dodge, as you see there, and these homing bullets that take about 10 to recharge. This is the bread and butter of the Azulmancer, and basically the bread and butter of his entire game, because you can't get new abilities. At least I haven't been able to get new abilities with this guy. You're stuck with these abilities, but they're all good in some way, and you may get things that will help buff them in certain ways. So for example, I could purchase this item. Increased critical hit chance. So probably works well with these, homing missiles because it does multiple attacks and more chances to critical hit. Maybe not as well with just the plain fireball, but still good. And those buffs are very important because that's what's going to get you through the weaknesses of each class. So the Wayfarer had the ability to heal himself with his base abilities. Not so much with my Azulmancer here. But he can get abilities that will help him out, such as this extra jump, or reduces damage received from debuffs. Great. He can also do tasks that will help him out. Like, this will spawn enemies, and if he takes them out in a certain amount of time, guess what? He's going to get another item. As you can see, the damage is starting to pile up, and I only have 12 seconds to do this, which can be a little bit hard to do, but oh, great. And I got another jump, which isn't necessarily the best thing for him right now. I already got a jump, but those items can pile up. Like, being able to jump over multiple characters and get out of trouble, very great. But I really need a healing item, a ability to heal, because I'm regenerating a little bit right now, but not much. So, nope, not one of those. I forget what that one does. Chance to ignite and hit. So these are all offensive abilities. That sucks, but that's what the game is giving to me. Granted, there is a leveling system, and when you level up, you heal. That's good. But I really could use one of those items. And it's one of the downsides of this game, unfortunately, is that just certain luck with certain characters can really go against them. For example, as you probably figured out, the Azulmancer really wants those healing items. So if he doesn't get them early on, that run probably isn't going to go well. Now he's going to play keep away, but as you saw, he needs the ability to take out enemies rather quickly because there are timed elements to this game. And time is the biggest factor. You see that top right corner? That is an instability meter. As it grows, the chances of the world shifting go up. And the world shifting means that the world gives enemy buffs, which, let's put it bluntly, is not a good thing, because those are significant buffs that end up happening. Like, Vampiric, which gives like 200% of the damage that they use back to their health. And that also applies to bosses. Bosses like this guy. The giant. 3,000 HP. And he's a hard one. And by hard one, I mean that, I could easily take him on. I could easily damage him and whittle him down. But remember that time element? Yeah, that time element's gonna come into play because, look at that. Did 50 damage getting close to him. So getting close to him is probably not a good idea. So that whole Azulmancer thing, probably a good choice. But you can see I'm already in trouble. I have literally 26 health. Not a good way to deal with all these enemies. And yeah, I'm gaining HP, but not a lot of it. So I'm playing keep away. Oh, good. I got a level which does give me HP back. Just imagine if you had to get close to this guy and try to deal with that on a regular basis. That's why I didn't like trying to deal with that melee. Okay, stop. Potent. Fires glow brighter and claws cut deeper. This is one of those buffs I was talking about. So, Potent increases the stacks of bleed, poison, freezing, and burning applied by 1. This is actually a good one for me because, unfortunately, there are a lot worse ones. But this one is at least I can at least deal with because I just gotta not take certain types of damage. Okay, boss is down, and now I go over to the end and go to the next level. Now you're probably saying to yourself, okay, Dragnix, that goes maybe what? For the rest of the stage? You end the stage and you're good to go, right? Wrong. It carries over. In fact, if you take long enough in an area, it could, get up to, let's say, 10 buffs for the enemies. Now, there are ways to get rid of them with things like this, the Azul Stone. But you also want the Azul Stone for things like this. This is one of the most powerful items in the game, in my opinion. Drastically increases health regeneration and max health. One of the best items for the Azulmancer. But I'll grab some other items here. Granted, I only know what some of these items do because I've played this game about 10 hours. First time you run through this game, let's stop here. Let's see if we can see what this item does. No description, no nothing. Makes a first run rather hard. And some games are like that. Binding of Isaac has that to a certain extent. But this game is so reliant on information that it becomes frustrating. Now, one of the pieces of information that you don't have is, well, where's the boss? You spawn randomly. It's a procedurally generated map, so it could be anywhere. I'm lucky the boss spawned right here, right in front of me. And it's on the right side, so I literally started on one side of the map. Sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes you get spawned in the middle and you don't know which way the boss is, which sucks because you're wasting that time. And you don't really have an option on how you waste that time. It's just because you got unlucky and went the wrong way. There's no clue in terms of, oh, that boss is that way because, a bunch of enemies are spawning that way. There's no clue in terms of how you deal with that. It's just luck. And while luck always plays a factor in games like with roguelike qualities, skill has to mean something. And there are certain things in which you can overcome even with those problems. Here, I feel like if you're just given a bad hand, it doesn't matter how good you are. You're just gonna lose. And it's one of my biggest frustrations with this game. Not getting a health item for this guy, for example, it's a death sentence. Because, yeah, sure, you can gain health over time, but maybe. You can get those levels, but they're not reliable enough to deal with. And so you're just hoping that you get the right things, and maybe you can use your abilities in the right way. Maybe you can adjust to it. You get a lot of different buffs. But if the enemies get the right buffs, you may be screwed. And it's all about that luck, which unfortunately means that you're just sort of feeling bad. So for example, the stone skin increased armor of enemies by plus 40. That's a lot of armor, actually. It's a reasonable amount of armor to the point where they may be able to withstand 2 or 3 attacks that they wouldn't have been able to before. And 2 or 3 attacks, especially with my character, is a problem. It also doesn't help that the visual style of the game really hurts it. And what I mean by that is, I love the animations in this game. I love some of the character designs. But let's take an example of the boss that I'm facing. He's using dark blue projectiles in an area with mostly dark blues, browns, blacks, so on and so forth. Makes it hard to see. And I understand that sometimes that's what you're hoping for. You want it to be a little bit harder for the player. But I don't actually think that was purposeful here. I think it's the fact that it's just the style that they were going for, and they didn't consider the sort of thoughts about, oh, wait a minute, how are players going to see with certain, eyesight, certain, like, I'm not sure what word I'm looking for is, tendencies in terms of what they're looking at. For me, it's very hard to see those unless if I'm really paying close attention. And when I'm trying to pay close attention to everything around me, it sucks when that happens. I also have to question, why is the world so pulled back? Our character is about 1/30th of the screen size. That's not a lot. And I wonder if some of my problems with this game in terms of visual fidelity would have been solved by just moving in a little bit closer. Maybe not having as big of bosses, but, be able to see things a little bit better. Now, I took care of the boss, and I'm having to walk all the way back. Great, wonderful. There are 4 buffs in the world, and let's take a look at those buffs. We've got enemies gain armor-piercing damage, armor, movement speed, and potent. Those burn stacks. So I could spend money to get rid of it by buying Azul stones and, cleansing the world. I could also even get rid of some of that meter so it's less likely for those things to happen. But, and here's the but, they're expensive. And if you're going to, be buff enough to take on later portions, well, it's not going to make a lot of sense now, is it? To deal with that. Oh, I did unlock something new. That's good. So, for example, I could buy an Azul stone here, and I can get rid of... I can cleanse the world. Oh, it took care of the stone skin. Oh, that's good. Wait, what happens if that was the one I didn't want, that I didn't care about? Do I have any control over that? No. You see where my problems are in terms of you can't really adapt well to the situation. Like, if there was one specific buff that really would have caused me a problem and I had the ability to get rid of it, there would be some balance there of that luck element. But you don't. You don't have the ability to see what enemies are going to spawn, what possibilities they have in terms of what they could end up hitting you with, because the game doesn't give you that information. And information in a roguelike can be key. Some of it will always be because of experience. Some of it will be because, you just learned how enemies are working. But some of them, the game should give you from the get-go, and I really question why they didn't give you from the get-go here. I understand that there are certain problems with that in terms of It's an action game. What are you going to do? Pause and, tell the character, what is going on? I get that, it's not easy all the time to be able to implement that, but some things, there were ways to do it, in my opinion. Maybe just a brief description under the item as it comes along, or an option to actually be able to give that. It doesn't help that things like the music is always fantastic in this game. Like, it really helps sell the action, it helps sell what is going on, but I'm gonna be, frank with you, it doesn't feel of the same world. Like, it feels like the game, the composer who put this together, great, he's good, he's fantastic. He doesn't feel like he's on the same level as the rest of the game, which makes things a little bit weird because you get this epic music and then the visuals are okay, but the action is also a little bit off. You're probably hearing me complain a lot here and going, well, Dragnix, you seem to be giving this game a lot of shit. It's a $4.99 game. I mean, why are you giving the game so much shit at this point? I'm giving the game a little bit of shit because I think it's got potential. I think if it changes certain things, information-wise in particular, and the difficulty curve overall, I think you have another Risk of Rain-like game. But unfortunately, what I felt in the first 10 hours of gameplay here, and to the point where I literally was like, I need to do a video on this, but I don't want to take all the rest of the time to try to edit footage together and play, 20, 30 hours, is that I got frustrated. I got frustrated in a bad way. I got frustrated thinking that I didn't have the ability, the game didn't give me the ability to deal with the differences in the gameplay easily. See, like there, I'm dead. I didn't feel like, regardless of what I did, that I really had a good chance to deal with that. And that sucks. That really does. We'll play with the Wayfarer a little bit, and I'll play on normal just to show you what the Wayfarer is like. He's got sword. He's got a gun. He's got a dodge, and he's got that healing item I referred to. I do question why items like that dust there is so hard to see. Like, it blends into the background so easily. The background here, it's pretty. It gives layers of everything in the world. It gives a grand sense of adventure, and yet I don't really have time to really look at it because there's I gotta get places. I need to use this and hopefully not get a buff on the world. Hopefully not get a buff on the world. Okay, good. I got an item. Summon Spirit to help aid me in combat. Great. Wonderful. Don't have time to really think about it because I need to just keep going. I just wonder if the game went through a little bit more testing in terms of some of the difficulty issues. And I understand that some people are going to really like the difficulty in this game. They're going to really love it. And because they'll be like, okay, I am going to learn, I'm going to deal with all these issues, and I'm going to be able to deal with these bosses no problem after maybe 15, 20 hours. And for some people, that's going to be okay. And normally, I'd be more okay with it. I mean, hell, I put a lot of hours into Hades. But I just don't think the return is here. Even with the $4.99 price tag, I'm more thinking about opportunity cost. I could play this game. I could play 20 hours or 30 hours of this game. But I could also play Darkest Dungeon 2. I could play Risk of Rain, the original. I haven't played through all that. I could play through several other games like this. And even though it's a low price, I have to sit there going, what is the unique element of this game? Well, it's time. It's that time mechanic. Not many other games have that mechanic where the world gets stronger as things go along. But in that same breath, that mechanic is also one of my biggest issues because it feels so stifling. Like, I literally may not be able to defeat enemies if they get the right buffs or not, and I don't think I have the tools to easily deal with the problems that it gives me. And that's the big problem here. If I felt that the game gave me enough of a chance to deal with some of those inconsistencies, where I could take a run and shape it into what I need it to be, as opposed to just dealing with what the run gives me, I'd be a lot more on board for giving this game a recommendation. But right now, my recommendation is watch it and see. And if you're a hardcore roguelike player, maybe you give it a chance. Maybe you like what the action that you've seen on screen, and some of the little downfalls that I've pointed out, maybe they don't concern you as much. I mean, in my review system, that would be a bunch of enhancers and dehancers normally. But for me, for my personal element of this game, it just ended up frustrating me. It just ended up frustrating me to the point where I didn't even want to technically review or play this game at the end of it. Granted, I'm a professional. I wanted to do a video on this and give you guys that information. I did a stream on it. But you have to know that this game is going to have a very, very niche audience. And I implore the developers to look at some of the feedback that they get on this game, because I feel like if you listen to the majority of people who play your game, not the people who are, the biggest fans of the genre. I'm talking about those mid-level people, the people who like the genre, really do, and do love playing it, but want a little bit more control over what's going on. They may be able to give your game that Risk of Rain boost that I think you're hoping for. Because, again, good animations, good base abilities. You've got a unique element in the time element that you can work into your overall solution, in my opinion. But things like the visuals, in terms of some of the color choices, like the blue on the background here, I think you need to take a look at. The ability to control how your player deals with some of these issues. That's what could really help you in the long run. And I feel like if you, really put the effort into making some of those choices and making it easier for the player, you may find that people are going to flock to your game. But for me, it's just not my cup of tea. And I chose the game because it looks like my cup of tea, but in practice and in visuals, a lot different than what I was expecting. Okay, I'll try to finish off this run. I don't do it. That mini-map would really help right now, by the way, because I don't remember where I am. I have a bad memory. I'm old. I'm 35. Am I 35? I'm 36? 35? Oh, I don't remember anymore. I'm 35. But, yeah. As to the item variety, nice. There's a good amount of items that I really do appreciate in this game. I do appreciate things like this. Decreases skill cooldowns, which is really great. That's a great rare item for the player to use. But again, given the right perks, given the right buffs, the enemy will just ignore that. Or, okay, blood begins to boil. I'm going to take a lot more fire damage. Great. What else? Control-wise, it's reasonable. I will say that the game does have a problem with controllers. They did actually add those button descriptions on the bottom there, which weren't there at first. The problem is I'm using an Xbox 360 controller right now, and that health item, that, the bottom button it's referring to, the bottom button is my jump right now. That's actually the B button on the Xbox 360 Xbox One controller normally. And so it should be the right button, but for some reason, it thinks it's the bottom button. Don't know why. L1 and R1 are right. I also feel like you're just always playing this like game of, oh, well, I'm just going to try to outlast everything. I don't feel like I'm actively making great decisions in terms of, oh yeah, I can take this boss on because X, Y, Z. More active decision making in terms of, oh, you know, maybe you can choose a buff that will take on ice creatures better. Could really help. But the animations are good. That laser coming out of that thing, excellent. The sound effects design, reasonable. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me for now. Even as I take damage here. If you want to see more content like this specifically, you know, leave a comment in the comment section below. I won't do this if people don't want it in terms of these more gameplay commentaries. I'll just let the streams talk for them. But it's not like the edited content is going to go away. Heaven forbid, that is my bread and butter, even though I don't have a lot of, you know, subscribers. But if you want to see more content like this, let me know. Subscribe, comment, like, all that jazz, and I will see you later. I don't know what I'm going to review next. I will refer to the Discord. I'll put it there. All right, later.